What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at The Rocketeer, directed by Joe Johnston. Now, I'm going to make this review as short as I possibly can. I overall think that The Rocketeer is a solidly made movie. Now, this movie is nothing spectacular and nothing special, but for what it is, I think it's really entertaining and it's a good, superhero movie from the early '90s. The basic plot of this movie is this pilot named Cliff Seckard stumbles across this jetpack that was created by Howard Hughes, which was going to be used for warfare during this time period. But the character of Cliff wants to use this jetpack to make him and his inventor partner Peavy a little bit of money with their annual town fair. All the while, Timothy Dalton's character, known as Neville Sinclair, is a Nazi spy disguised as an actor, and he wants the jetpack to bring back to Germany to give the Nazis the advantage in warfare. So that's pretty much the overall basic plot line of this movie. So without further ado, let's just talk about the movie in general. Like I said, I think this is a solidly made movie. It's well done. I think Joe Johnston does a good journeyman's job behind the director's chair. This movie is not visually breathtaking. It's not visually appealing. I'm sorry. It's not visually artistic in any way, shape, or form. But it's competent. It's solid, and Joe Johnston gets the job done. He captures the late 30s, early 40s aesthetic with this movie really, really well, with its wardrobe and costume designs, and it looks authentic. It looks period, and some of the dialogue in this movie is also of that time period as well. And he also has a very solid cast. I think Billy Campbell, who plays the lead in this movie, known as Cliff, he does a good job. He comes across as a very likable, everyman type of character. He's not the most interesting character in this movie whatsoever, but he's solid. He does a very solid job, and like I said, he comes across as really, really likable, naive at times, but overall very likable and very heroic, and someone that you can root for. Billy Campbell's at his best when he's working with other actors. Like the chemistry with him and Jennifer Connelly, who plays his girlfriend Jenny, is actually really, really solid. The romance is okay, nothing spectacular by any stretch of the imagination, but it's good for what it is. Acting wise, Jennifer Connelly can come across as really, really stilted in a lot of scenes, and then she can come across as actually really, really good. So, again, this is the early days of Connelly's career, so it's kind of a give and take. She didn't become a good actress overnight, but in this movie she's fine. But the actor that does steal the show with the Cliff character is the character of Peavy, played by Alan Arkin, and that's because Alan Arkin is just a very talented actor to begin with, and I like the chemistry with Arkin and Campbell. They have a Marty McFly, Doc Brown dynamic to them, which I thought was actually pretty cool, and I like the scenes with them. It's actually really, really funny as well, because a lot of the film's comedy comes from these two, and it works, and I like it a lot. The villain in this movie, played by Timothy Dalton, Neville Sinclair, I like the villain. I think this villain the villain is not overly complex, but but at the same time he's actually really, really interesting. It's interesting that he's a Nazi spy who is acting as an actor. It's actually pretty interesting. And Timothy Dalton just has a wicked charisma he brings to this character, and he's hamming it up, and he's over the top with it, but you can tell that he's enjoying himself. You can tell that he's enjoying himself playing the character. So I like it a lot. Terry O'Quinn is in this movie. He plays Howard Hughes, and this movie does not have enough of Terry O'Quinn in this movie as Howard Hughes. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the character, since Hughes was responsible for creating the rocket pack, which gives birth to the Rocketeer. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more scenes with the fictionalized version of Howard Hughes in this movie. I thought Terry O'Quinn was actually doing a pretty solid job in the role. I liked it a lot. And then again, I would like to have seen more of it. This movie also has Paul Sorvino, who plays a gangster named Eddie Valentine, who is associated with the Neville Sinclair character. But when the character of Eddie finds out that Sinclair is a Nazi in disguise, he instantly flips a switch. And that plays really well into the time period of this movie, because even if you're a mobster who doesn't make an honest living, you have America running in your blood. And I kind of like how the character of Eddie is just like, hey, listen, I may not be an honest man, but I'm 100% American. I like that. That instantly makes the character of Eddie Valentine into a very, not likable character, but but an interesting character as well. Because he instantly signs with the Cliff character and says, "Hey, look," and pretty much becomes his ally at the end of the movie. So I enjoyed that. I like that for what it was. So, like I said, casting wise, it's very very solid. Story wise, it's nothing spectacular, but it's nothing horrible. It The story of this movie fits the period in which it's taking place in, which is that 1938 World War II era. And like I said earlier, Joe Johnston captures that feel really, 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 really well. Looking back at it, it works for me. I like it, and I like period piece movies, and this is a good. And this movie gets a point just for being a period piece, and Joe Johnston trying to be as authentic as possible to the time period that he's using. The special effects in this movie came out in 1991. The effects are okay. The practical effects look good. The overall look of the Rocketeer itself has a very Art Deco yet very 1940s futuristic style to it, but it looks cool. It looks recognizable, and I like it. Uh, the action sequences in this movie, there's really nothing spectacular. It's mostly just a lot of fist fights and gunfights. It's nothing special, but nothing horrible either. You know, a movie like The Rocketeer, you're pretty much getting what you're going to get. If this is again, this is a movie that's not looking to break down walls or break down barriers. It's looking to be a good, fun popcorn type of movie, and that's what it is. It's a good popcorn movie, and popcorn movies are good. And I think The Rocketeer is a solidly made popcorn movie, which is why I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's nothing special or spectacular, but it's very, very entertaining. You got a strong cast, you have a competent director, you have an interesting yet very basic story, and it's a lot of fun. This movie has a very fun, adventurous type of spirit, and you can clearly tell when watching it. 6.5 out of 10 for The Rocketeer. Well, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.